All right, my friends, today is October the 6th. It is Monday morning. Go ahead and get into the market outlook and plans for the week ahead. Let's go ahead and get into the outlook. Let's start off with TradFi. So we're just going to keep it short and sweet, just a little bit of equities yap first. So first off with the S&P, I'm not going to, no trade setups or anything like that. As we get further into Q4, that is something I'm going to be doing a lot myself. More on that in the group later. Main talking points for the S&P are, this is still clearly a dip buying asset. This is when you get a 2 to 5% dip in these markets, which, that should be your all-in kind of signal. Yo guys, hit that like and subscribe button for me. Appreciate it. When you're not getting those larger dips, I just basically DCA on this, treat it like a savings account. Eventually that meta will shift, but I don't see that happening for anytime soon, right? I've been really deploying this strategy since the beginning of 2022, and I don't intend to change. It's been crazy how effective it's been, right? And the risk is just so minimal. So TLDR, the S&P and the Nasdaq continue to be dip buying, clear, no shit, just brain dead dip buying assets, right? If you get a larger wipeout in Q4, that would be something that I would absolutely be looking to shove very heavily into. But there's no reason to, sit there and wait for the large dip to come. If you think that you're going to be the guy that belongs the big short dip, you're going to be sidelined for most of your career. So it's better to just, be more aggressive about these things. And, hopefully you're not the last one in. And that's pretty much it for that. Let's go ahead and move over to metals. This is much more of an interesting conversation. So like we've been talking about with gold. Gold is hot, right? Gold is very, very hot. Clearly a enormous amount of, demand uptick that has happened in the past 2 months, 3 months, something like that, right? This bodes really well for us as crypto traders. I don't own any gold personally, as I've said many times. I have silver. We'll look at that here in a moment. But, I love seeing gold continue to trade up like this. I think that this bodes well for crypto, and I think that this just, essentially paves the way for Bitcoin. Bitcoin is going to trade higher anyways, and this just makes that path that much more attainable. I'm quickly looking over at silver. I'm, very, very happy to see how strong this asset's been. It's heating up in a very big way. It's, highest quarterly close in a long time recently, and or ever actually. And I think it's at that point where it's basically at all-time high right now, depending on what venues you're looking at. So I feel good about this, right? The reason why I originally invested in silver was not for the purpose of growth. It was just an alternative, asset class for me to park money in and diversify. And, there's many times where I felt like an asshole for sitting in silver for years, and, I'm feeling good about it right now, right? It finally has paid itself off. This metals meta you shouldn't expect this to go away anytime soon. I think that the bid that's going to come in gold is going to persist for a while, in my opinion. So expect this to persist. All right, let's go ahead and move over into Bitcoin macro. So this is definitely the most important conversation of the day. So let's get into some stuff here. I want to just go ahead and say welcome to Q4, because in the last week's video, we released that just 2 days before the quarterly open. So this is the first outlook for Q4. So welcome. I wanted to take a quick moment to pause and say congratulations to everybody for surviving this long. I know that, for some of you guys, you recognize that that's an achievement, and for some of you, you don't. And I want to make everyone take a step back and realize that surviving in these markets is actually a version of winning, right? This is an infinite game. Most people lose by giving up or running out of resources, right? So for you, the longer you survive in the game, the more likely you are to move in that direction of winning. So give yourself a pat on the back, even if the progress, for some of you, you probably made enormous progress. For some of you, you haven't, and that's fine. And you just take a step back and acknowledge that progress is progress, right? You're moving forward. And what we've just experienced over this past year, this has been a very, very difficult year for most traders. As far as big, momentum opportunities, we've only maybe had 2 or 3. And it's been rough for people, right? So take it with a grain of salt, but acknowledge the fact that we've absolutely gone through a version of price and time capitulation. I originally was calling a lot of this, price capitulation as we traded down in the direction of 110 from 120, right? It's hard for me to rationalize that as real price capitulation because, right, it's just coming into higher lows, right? But for some people, I guess that's a version of capitulation. For sure, though, time capitulation and watching equities be strong while crypto had moments of, underperformance, right? A lot of people gave up. So TLDR on that yap. Take a step back, appreciate the fact that you're still fucking here. All right, let's get into the macro yap. So first things first, we're very, very happy about how things are playing out, right? That's obviously the most relevant talking point right now. I have been incredibly patient with my plans, and I hope that, You guys have participated in this rally with me, and more importantly than the money that you've made, learned a lot of valuable lessons about how to view the big picture of these markets, right? View how we view chop, how we view seasonality, how we view trends, all this kind of stuff, how we view the sentiment around it, right? Hopefully a lot of you guys have really soaked up some lessons because I've been doing my best to pass them along your way. Main talking points though for the macro are, the main plan is working out incredibly well. I refuse to ever get too excited about things, and celebrate before it's all over. My celebration is when I'm selling things normally, not when they're going up. So you want to stay level-headed and not get ahead of yourself. A lot of people are euphoric right now. Take a step back and don't let yourself get sucked into that, right? If I'm right about what's going to happen this quarter, it's going to get way crazier than this. So you can't let yourself get your head up your ass day one, right? You stay level-headed, stay calm. Closing thoughts, we'll just yap about some levels really quickly. So I did want to go ahead and stress the point of where we're at right now. This is obviously the standard deviation for the macro trend that we've been trading for a while. So, we're obviously at a significant resistance zone. We'll talk about that in medium time frame here momentarily. But, as far as upside levels go, I basically think that we've been talking about 150 for a while. I think 135 will probably be a significant psychological level. So that's going to be something I'm going to be mapping out moving forward. Let's move over to this for the level talk though. So as far as levels go, 150 is everybody's end-all, be-all target, right? We'll probably either come up short or go past it. Who knows? Maybe 169. That would be an incredible macro top for it to be 169, to be honest. As far as actual technical levels you're concerned about, 120 was the significant resistance that we have been yapping out about for a long time. I said once we test 120 again, we're going to smash it. So now that's played out, and as it stands, 120 is now macro support for you. So it means that bidding if you get a dip in the direction of like 119, 118, you ape the fuck out of that, right? Because now 120 is macro support. Below 120, you have pure risk invalidation of 110. If 110 is lost, there's no logic for being risk on in the markets anymore. And that's pretty much it, right? 120 macro support right now. 110 end all be all for risk. I think 135 will probably give us some resistance as we move in our direction of hopefully the upper 100s. First things first for medium time frame, I think that one of the main talking points I had last week was the idea that if everybody wants to buy the dip and all these motherfuckers are drawing doodles of, we're at 118 right now, let's pull back to 114 and then I buy and then I write off from the sunset in Q4. That tells me we say fuck you to everybody and we just go higher right off the bat. So that's what I said last week, is that we're probably going to be making our higher low from higher prices. So yeah, we're at really significant resistance right now at 125. I could see us trading up a little bit higher and then starting to round out and lose that steam. So I'm not trying to get too predictive with it, but just generally speaking, if we do get that pullback, which is going to happen at some point, whether it's from now or it's from higher prices, right? We're going to pull back at some point into a higher low. And if you get a higher low from higher prices into the direction of 120, especially if you can deviate 120 and bid 119, 118, that's a fucking freebie trade right there. So that's definitely one of my main focuses right now. Is I would love for that dip in the direction of 119 to come, and I'll ape it super, super hard. That's pretty much where we're at, right? 119 is your if you get 119 now, you send it into that. And yeah, I feel good about things, and quick closing thoughts on medium time frame. I'm just very happy that things played out how I wanted them to. Sometimes in life, I'm able to just basically predict the structural shifts and things like that beforehand. It's not so much that I'm predicting, just more so that's just what makes sense, right? If we're gonna go higher, we weren't just gonna go up from bear structuring where we were just gonna go up like this, right? We were gonna have that momentum shift like we had talked about many times before, right? Momentum matters. So yeah, hopefully that's all clear. That's where we're at, right? I think Ripple looks really good. I think Litecoin looks really good. They're essentially the same exact trade. They're the buy it now or buy it here really soon and then dump it on normies in 2 months, right? It's going to be, these will be no-brainer kind of plays. Link feels very similar to me. I think that Link looks good. I think BCH looks really good. Out of all the boomer coins, though, I got to say that I like Ripple and Litecoin the most, 100%. I think Pumpcoin looked pretty interesting recently, but right now I'll be waiting for that to pull back quite a bit more before I was super interested in it. I think SPX is one of the winner memes for sure. I showed you guys on this at $1 and didn't buy it myself, and that was a huge mistake. For my allocations, I want to make boring, safe plays. I want to buy memes, and basically layer ones and memes are the only things I really want to buy. So yeah, that's pretty much it for that. Closing thoughts, guys. So as far as content goes, you obviously can keep an eye out for any sort of trades, education analysis updates, all that kind of stuff, please do let me know, or let any of us know if there's something that you're specifically looking for in the group. But yeah, I mean, what I had been saying for a while, I was in recovery mode. I'm a workaholic, so I was still getting all my work done, but I wasn't going above and beyond and putting in, 9-10 hour days. It was just relaxing. It's kind of looking like it's time to start moving in that direction. It is time to move away from recovery season and move in the direction of working hard, though. So over the next week or two, I'm gonna really start to lock in. I've been doing that with my fitness too. Honestly, guys, I think that's one of the best ways to ramp up your workload. If you want to start to really lock in your work and work hard, put in hours, and start to stack, I think that a lot of the times one of the best ways to get that momentum rolling is fitness. I find that to be very, very effective myself. I get my heart elevated, I get my blood running, I get a pump going, and all of a sudden I want to work a lot harder, right? It's just how she goes. So thanks everybody for listening to the app today. Hopefully everything got covered. If you have any questions, absolutely hit me in the question section. Cheers and good luck.